Hello everyone! Today we're going to be jumping back into Historic Brawl with Emry, Lurker of the Loch. Emry is going to be the perfect commander for our Artifacts Matter deck, where we have a whole bunch of artifacts that we're going to put into our graveyard and get back with Emry. Let me just talk through the main combo that we're looking to execute here. So, Paradox Engine is the one card that we are looking for. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents that you control. Now for us, those non-land permanents, we want them to be mana rocks. So we want to be able to untap all of our mana rocks to get extra mana with each spell cast. And we also want to untap Emry so we can get artifacts back out of our graveyard. So a couple of synergies that are really cool here is Mishra's Bauble with Emry and the Paradox Engine. It's going to let us use Bauble as many times as we want. That's going to give us a whole bunch of casts, whole bunch of card draw. We also have Chromatic Sphere, which is going to go net neutral, sacrificing to add 1 mana of any color and drawing a card. So we can draw a whole bunch of cards for next to no mana with Chromatic Sphere here. We've got some cost reducers as well, making all of our artifacts cheaper in Cloud Key. We also have the Foundry Inspector and Familiar here, making all of our artifacts cheaper and easier to cast. A couple of other ways to deal with the top of our deck. We've got Mystic Forge. This will let us cast off the top of our deck, which is super strong. We also have the Reality Chip that's able to do the same effect. Let us keep pushing through our deck. One of the fun combos here is we have Hope of Garroper. We can actually bring this back each turn with Emry and essentially lock our opponents out of casting non-creature spells, which is going to be absolutely amazing for us. But how are we actually looking to win the game? Once we have enough mana with Paradox Engine, we can close out the game with Aetherflux Reservoir. We can actually cast some of our cheap spells, sacrifice them over and over again until we have plenty of life to deal all the damage that we need there. We also have a couple of big hitters in the deck. You've got Wormcoil Engine, and we also have Nettlecyst, which is going to get bigger with all of our artifacts. Both of these are kind of the swing out methods of winning, which can also get us there with combat damage. Similarly, when we have so much mana available to us, Mass Manipulation is going to be a great card. If we steal our opponent's board, almost all the time after doing that, we're going to be able to secure the win. Now that we've had a chance to take a look at this deck, let's go ahead and see how it does. Alright, and it's the Battle of the Graveyard decks playing up against Old Stick Fingers. We're actually going to go ahead and keep this opening hand. I like having Wash Away, I like working towards Ugin, and we're definitely going to be able to hit our land drops with some of our artifacts here. Let's go ahead and start with the Inscribed Tablet. Next turn we can play the Amulet, then Emry. Looking good. That's the first of our mana rocks as well, helping us get towards that plan. Alright, looks good. Got some strong options in our graveyard as well. Getting out this Familiar to reduce the cost of artifacts is going to be great for us. We are a little bit scared of removal here, but that's fine. Back in the command zone. Because no matter how much removal our opponent has, we will eventually get to the point where we can cast Emry again with all of our artifacts. Alright. Let's see if they go for the Old Stick Fingers here. Yep, taking a look at what all of our artifacts do. We are going to have a very wide board full of artifacts, so... Alright, yeah, they're thinking about what artifact to destroy. It's gonna be a Celestis, 100%. I'm glad that they got that out of the way now, though. Alright, let's go ahead and play out our Ornithopter, get our Emry back out. Let's see what we mill this time. Alright, this looks good. Starting to the point where in 2 turns we can keep our opponent off sorceries. But doesn't matter. Emry's going to go back in the graveyard. And into the command zone. Alright, now we could cast out Emry again. And I think we will. We have Ornithopter of Paradise for that extra blue mana. So we can wash away if they cast Old Stick Fingers. No need to attack. We'll end the turn here. What are the odds of there being more removal? Right, opponent's ramping, that's fine. Now next turn, I think with Emry, we've got a couple of options of things to get back. I think we go with Arcane Signet. We're going to want to be ramping here. Onto my turn. Alright, Emry. Let's go grab Arcane Signet. Chromatic Sphere. Now we can hold up both Memory Lapse and Wash Away for Old Stick Fingers. No attacks, we'll end the turn here. I think we can go Witching Well next. That would be really strong. Alright, Ren in 7. Easily just make our opponent skip their turn. Feels pretty good. Back to me. I do draw the land. And we can play out Ugin here. Hold up Wash Away. I do kind of like that. Yeah, Ugin's going to make our artifacts cheaper as well, so let's go ahead and plus. Okay, that's a Gnar set as well. Looking pretty good. Okay, colorless are going to cost 2 less here. So let's go here. Play out the Hope. Since that's going to be free. No attacks. End the turn. Holding up Wash Away for Old Stick Fingers. Right, opponent just casts Ren in 7 again. That's perfectly fine. Alright, you just get a whole bunch of lands. I think we ping down Ren in 7 with Ugin next turn. Nice and simple. No Ren in 7 for you. Alright, let's... Actually, before we do this, let's go to combat. Let's swing out like this. Okay. Keep our opponent off non-creature spells. And let's just bring it back. Nice and simple. Now we can go ahead and end the turn here. Now we can pay the cleave cost on Wash Away as well, if we have to. Alright, that's a Stomper. We'll let him have the Stomper. Now we can chump the Stomper with our Spirit tokens that we're making off Ugin. So I feel pretty good about that. Yep. Also fine. And back to my turn. Alright. Hedron Archive. I actually want to draw this. Let's go ahead and transform. Okay. Archive for 2. Okay, get a Mind Stone with Ugin. Move to combat. Get in 4-1 here. I'm gonna sacrifice it, do the same thing. We're gonna keep on looping this. And we'll end the turn right here. We got a couple of options now. We've got Wash Away. We can also use the ability here to grab a non-creature, non-land. This is gonna let us start digging through our library. Now let's see what our opponent does this turn. They might try and cast a really big Old Stick Fingers. Alright, swinging out. Personally, I'm a huge fan of this. That way we're going to be able to cash in on those tokens for Ugin, fill up our hand a little bit more. Having Gnar set is also great for us. Looking good, looking good. Opponent can't cast non-creature spells, notably because of our Hope here. Draw a card, then discard a card. That's perfectly fine by me. I think we actually get rid of the Narset here. I would rather have Realmbreaker. We've got it! Alright! Alright, so we are playing into Teferi here. This is an alright starting hand, but I am going to take the mulligan. I want to see something a little bit better. Like this. This is definitely a little bit better. Gonna start ramping with all of our mana rocks. Hopefully find a Paradox Engine for us on a turn where our opponent's tap down. We're on the play as well, which is great. Opponent starts with a white land. Alright, creatures enter tapped. I'm fine by that. We actually don't have a good way to give Emry haste, so That doesn't particularly matter. Next turn, we've got Network Terminal into Chromatic Sphere, or Terminal into Emry. Or we can even go for both. Let's go for the Terminal first. Okay, opponent casts up. That's totally fine. Now that our opponent is off the blue mana, I actually am no longer afraid of Wash Away or something like that, so we are going to cast out Emry this turn. Yep, she'll enter tapped, but that's fine. Good cards in the graveyard as well. Really like Bobble, especially into Teferi. It's going to give us an idea of some of the pieces that they're drawing. And it's going to draw us cards recursively with Emry. Now we are a little scared of removal. Or graveyard hate, for that matter. But not too scared. Only with 3 mana. Okay, that's fine. Actually, Narset is perfectly fine by me. We have Wash Away in hand now. That's going to be great to cleanly answer the Teferi. Here's a Bobble. Now let's go ahead and play out the Archive here. And we're going to go ahead and take a look. Opponent has a counterspell on top. Glad we saw that. Go ahead and end our turn. Now, since we're drawing off Bobble on our opponent's turn, we'll get around the Narset, which is perfect for us. Now, all we have to do is keep on doing that, getting some incremental value. We have 1 open blue mana that we can use to wash away Teferi once our opponent casts that. We also have access to 3 mana, so we can cast the Cleave cost of Wash Away to counter any annoying spell that our opponent tries to resolve this turn as well. So this puts us in a really great spot. We will use our counterspell to keep Emry alive. And we do really want to get that value out of her. Let's see. Opponent's thinking about what to do here. Alright, they foretell a card. That's fine. Back to my turn. Alright, Aether Spellbomb is an excellent card to have drawn. But let's go ahead and Bobble first. Let's see if we pull the counterspell with Mishra's Bobble. That would be kind of funny. Our opponent might let us have it. They should. I certainly wouldn't waste my counterspell on Mishra's Bobble. Yep. Looks good to me. Let's take a look at their top card. Soon we're going to have a good understanding of what our opponent's whole hand looks like. Alright, that's a Dovin. Pretty good. Let's play out a Spellbomb. Also looking good. And we've got it. Alright. Then no need to cast either of those other spells. We'll just go ahead and pass the turn here. Draw with our opponent on their upkeep, thanks to our Mishra's Bobble. Alright, well. This is one of those unique situations where I'm more than happy countering that. We're gonna get rid of some of our opponent's value off the Brazen Borrower. Now let's see what's up next. We now know 2 out of the 4 cards in our opponent's hand. Oh, and that's fine. Doomscar, just get rid of Emry. Perfectly fine. Back in the command zone. She only costs 1 anyway. So we'll be able to get her back super easily. Okay, pass. And onto my turn. We do draw the land. Here's our Emry. And it doesn't look like that was countered. So I'm going to guess our opponent doesn't have a counterspell. So we'll play out the Shimmer Dragon as well. And then go ahead and end the turn here. We're a little fearful of another board wipe. I think our opponent's going to play the Teferi instead, though. That's perfect for us. Shimmer Dragon is going to be able to strike down either of their Planeswalkers next turn, and Hexproof is going to be absolutely insane. Yep, looking good. It's going to be better to kill Teferi first, I think. Yep. I'm just going to go ahead and tap these two to draw a card. Oh, well,
Your prowess.
I'll do that before the end of the turn. Kind of hard to click that with the trigger there. But we will draw our card this turn. Well, we can. Really try and keep our hand as full as possible. Make it around some of our opponent's threats. Having Hexproof on Shimmer Dragon is going to be so good. We are still a little bit afraid of a board wipe, which is why we want to deal with those Planeswalkers promptly. Narset is a little annoying with the card draw restriction. Alright, Sunfall. Yep. That makes sense. Submit 2, draw a card. Okay, there's Sai. Opponent's untapping a couple of lands. Okay, on to my turn. So we do have a counterspell now for Sunfall. That's going to be absolutely amazing for us. Move 2 attackers. Let's kill Teferi. And then let's go ahead and grab our Emry trigger here. Now let's go ahead and do something a little different. We're going to ramp more with Mind Stone. Personally a fan of taking this particular play. We'll see if we draw out the counterspell here. We do. That's perfectly fine. Counter on Mind Stone. Now, just to make it extra juicy, we're going to play out Sai this turn. Sai is going to enter tapped. Our opponent's going to gain some life. And I'm fine with that. See, we still have access to 4 blue mana, so we'll go ahead and end the turn. Yeah, maybe our opponent's going to think we forgot that they have the Sunfall. They go and cast it. Let's go ahead and counter that. You actually don't get to cast that spell. Yep, let's see what they find.
Keep an open mind.
If our opponent finds another board wipe, that's going to be problematic, but it's just a brainstorm. Looks good. Alright, well, before we go to my turn, let's go ahead and draw another card. And we get another counterspell. That looks great. Land for turn. Move to combat. Let's start by getting rid of Narset so we can draw some cards again. Perfect.
I was not prepared for this.
Let's go Foundry Inspector. Make it Thopter. Opponent's going to gain some life. That's fine. Now that Narset's gone, let's go play the Thought Monitor. Draw some extra cards as well. Start refilling our hand. Our opponent is going to be gaining a whole bunch of life, but that's fine. Celestis. Alright. Looking good. Access to more mana. Now, let's see. What do we want to do here? I think we're going to go for the Mind Stone. Cast that for 1. We still have access to enough mana for our Memory Lapse. So let's go ahead and end the turn. We'll be able to tap and draw a whole bunch with Shimmer Dragon as well. And we have Memory Lapse if our opponent gets a board wipe. We'll also lapse Teferi. Anything that our opponent taps out for, we'll definitely Memory Lapse that. Like that. Feels like an easy target. Alright, before our turn, let's go ahead and tap down, draw a whole bunch of cards. Try and give us as many options as we can for next turn. Alright, back to my turn. Let's go ahead and play this map out. Get a Thopter. It's looking good. Play our land. Now, let's move to combat. I do want to swing out like this. Looks good. Now let's start drawing cards off the Shimmer Dragon. Okay, we have the option to draw a couple more cards with Reverse Engineer. Alright, Realm Breaker, the Invasion Tree, that's great. Even if our opponent's able to clear the board, this is going to start giving us an out. Let's mill our opponent a little bit. No Wandering Emperor for them. And we get a land back off of that. Now let's go for Reverse Engineer here. Draw some cards. Arcane Signet for some extra mana. Looking good. Tap Thopter, that's fine. Let's use Emry here. Let's Emry for the Bauble. Get a better understanding of what our opponent's drawing next turn. Draw an extra card. Opponent is gaining a whole bunch of life. Let's look at their card with the Bauble. Alright, that's Farewell on top. Now, we can't let our opponent have that. I don't mind paying any life there, so let's go ahead and auto-pay. Resolve. We're going to have this enter as a copy of the invasion tree. We're going to keep the copy. We do have to mill Farewell off the top. Very glad we looked with the Bauble. Go ahead and end the turn here. Draw another card off Bauble. It's a midnight clock. That's looking good. Alright. Opponent's gonna just take an extra turn. That's fine. That's just one more card that they get to draw. Alright, Brainstorm. They're looking for a way out. And I'm not sure if they're gonna find it. Even if they do, we have a whole bunch of artifacts that they're not gonna be able to remove now that Farewell's in their graveyard. We're going to be milling our opponents each turn. I think we've put ourselves sufficiently far ahead to where I'm very content with where we're at. Yep, opponent gets rid of Fading Hope. That's fine. Plays another land. Maybe they go for the Teferi this turn. I am very interested to see what they play here. Alright. Jin-Gitaxias is less than ideal. Let's go ahead and tap for the card draw first. We do want to leave up one open mana. Alright, Worm Coil. That's fine. Opponent can have Jin-Gitaxias. Onto my turn. Alright, and it looks like we've won the game here. I'm gonna show you the fun Jin-Gitaxias trick. Looks like he's used his one counter on my Mishra's Bauble, which is such a shame, because I'm sure he wanted to use it on Paradox Engine, which will resolve. Okay, gonna hit QQ to tap out all of our mana. Here's a Worm Coil Engine. Untap everything. Now Emry's untapped. Now our opponent is gonna be gaining some life though, but we are gonna be able to kill them this turn. Let's just mill them a little bit. Play our land. Tap Emry. Let's grab out the Bauble once more. Play the Bauble, untap everything. QQ for that extra card drop. Alright, grab Emry here. Let's go Ominous Parcel this time. Now we are going to have to start drawing cards, so let's use Aether Spellbomb, draw a card. Find a Soul Guide Lantern. This is going to untap everything. We'll choose to get rid of Doomscar. Tap out again. Emry, this time for the Spellbomb. Untap. Got a whole bunch of mana. Eventually, we are going to find what we're looking for. Play out the Spellbomb again. Do a whole bunch of untapping. Now here, I'm going to just go ahead and tap down all of our Thopters, draw a bunch of cards. Hopefully we're going to find something that we need here. We're already finding a couple of different good spells. So I'm really happy with where we're at. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get our extra turn spell here. Return Jin-Gitaxias to our opponent's hand. So now, even if we have a problem with the timer, we'll be able to take an extra turn here. Untap with the Guardian Idol. Tap down. Let's draw a couple more cards. We're looking for aetherflux Reservoir to close out the game. We will find it now. Here we go. Got a whole bunch of cards we can draw. Okay. Slow and steady, we're gonna get there. Alright, well, not yet, but let's play this. Untap. Let's channel Otawara to throw that back in our opponent's hand. This way they're going to stop gaining life. That's also going to be really strong for us. Now we're untapped. Let's draw some more cards. We will find it eventually. Darksteel Citadel. Not it yet. Okay. We're gonna get there eventually. Okay, Ugin is a good card to cast out. Let's see if we can eventually find a card that'll let us play off the top of our library as well. It's gonna be really good for us. Alright, well, let's play out Ugin. We're actually not going to use Ugin's plus ability, notably, because we could accidentally exile the card that we need, which we definitely don't want to do. Let's play out Narset as well.
Those who cannot perceive beyond the veil of reality.
Keep going. We're eventually going to find what we need. Swiftfoot Boots is a good card to have here. Okay, drawing some more cards. We're slow and steady going to get there. Keep in mind, each spell that we cast here is gonna only help us. Let's play this, reduce the cost of artifacts even more. So now artifacts that cost 4 or less, we'll be able to get. Let's use Narset's ability, dig a little bit. Ashnod's Altar. Now we're gonna be able to have so much mana. See, what do we have? 33 cards left in our deck. So we will eventually find it. And even if it's the very last card in our deck, that's gonna be okay for us. Because we can cast out of our graveyard. Speaking of, let's just go ahead and grab Moonsnare to cast later with Emry, just in case. Okay, more counter spells. Okay, getting there. We can also find Nettlecyst. That will close out the game as well, since we have enough mana to equip it. But we find the aetherflux reservoir. Let's go ahead, cast this. Now we're just going to empty our hand. We have so much mana. So let's keep on going. Gonna pick Artifact here. And we've got more than enough life now, so let's go ahead and pay and deal that 50 damage. Alright, here we are on the play. This looks pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and keep this opening hand. Can actually get out the turn 1 Emry with our 2 0-mana artifacts. I think that's going to be a very strong start. Playing into Ragavan, so we do have to be a little bit worried about potential removal. But Ornithopter is going to give us that blocker. Right now we've put ourselves pretty far ahead. Go ahead and end the turn. I'm gonna wait on the bobble, and we've got it okay. Alright, so here we are playing into the Counterspell Man himself. We cannot keep this starting hand as much as I'd like to, not enough lands. This is gonna be much better for us. Let's go ahead and keep here. Turn 1 we've got Moonsnare. Next we can use Mystical Subdual to turn off Brawl's ability. That could be really strong for us. Opponent starts with a tap land, so this will be free for us. Go ahead and pass the turn back. Let's see if our opponent does elect to play out Brawl here. Alright, yep. And he does. With no access to a counterspell, let's just go ahead and remove his abilities. It should set our opponent back just a little bit. And this is actually going to help us get ahead into this matchup. Since we're playing a graveyard deck, we actually don't care too much about our opponent's counterspells, since as long as we will be able to resolve an Emry at some point, we are going to be able to get any cards we lose back. Alright. I think our opponent's going to go ahead and pass the turn here. Alright. Stasis Field. It's a good card to draw. See if our opponent lets us have the Mind Stone. Odds are I think they will. There's no good reason to be too afraid of that one. Okay, that's fine. We saw it coming. That's also works for us. We do want to be seeing another land here, or maybe one of our 0-mana artifacts. So that way we can tap that down to Moonsnare, play out the network terminal. Hitting our land drops is going to be really important in this matchup. Again, also resolving Emry is going to be very important for us, too. Right? Opponent's thinking. They might not have their land drop either. If they're stuck on 3 lands, I'd be happy with that. Note, they do have the Seagate Tower. Or Sea Tower. Okay. Looks good. Opponent passing. We draw the land. Let's go ahead and play out a network terminal. See if we get a counterspell here. Hopefully not. Ramping is going to be very important for us. Alright, that's fine. Next turn, we could be looking at the Tome. Might be a strong pick. Our opponent's slowly going to be losing out on cards. Trading 1 for 1 is only going to work for so long. It's another land. Alright, well, there's a banner. It's going to be able to buff Brawl up to a 0-3. Pretty good. Fortunately for us, we're not trying to win through combat damage just yet. Alright, opponent's tapped out here. I'm thinking that means next turn we're going to go Tome Emry. Yep, Tome Emry. Perfect. So we've got a bunch of different mana rocks in our graveyard to start getting back with Emry. Now that she's on the battlefield, if our opponent can't deal with her, it's going to be pretty good. Alright. Opponent grabs our Emry from us. That's going to be okay as well, though. Do they have any artifacts that we care about in their graveyard? No, they do not. So let's go ahead and pay for our Arcane Signet. Alright. Opponent's thinking. We've got a couple of different options. I think the Metamorph is going to be the play here. We can go ahead and pay the full cost. Now this will likely get countered. Alright, guess it will not. We've got our Emry back, except it's a little bit different. Puts us in a really good spot. Next turn, we have War of Invention that we can use. Since Emry's an artifact, we can actually go ahead and cast that for 5. That could be very powerful for us. Alright, we can get Bobble as well. That's definitely going to be really good for us. Yeah, this is looking good. I'm hoping to see our opponent tap out here. It would be nice to know that we're not looking at any counterspells. But if we are, that's also okay. Alright. The fact that the opponent sacked their land for a card tells me that their hand's not too good right now. This is pretty great for us. Alright, now we're going to swing with the Emry. That's perfectly fine. No blocks, because we'd like to keep ours. Now let's see if our opponent has anything else that they're going to be getting up to. That looks like a no. Let's go ahead and tap the Emry, and we're going to grab Mishra's Bauble here. Alright. You can go ahead and add 1 blue mana. That's perfectly fine. Play this out, see if they have some form of priority that they can hold. It does seem like that. Opponent may be in possession of a counterspell. Alright. We're gonna go for it, though. Let's see if we can War of Invention for 5. If our opponent has the counterspell, they'll use it. If not, we're gonna be in a great place for our next turn. And they do not. Here's Paradox Engine. Now, as long as we can untap with Emry, that should be the game here. With Mishra's Bauble on the battlefield, we'll be getting 1 mana off our Signet each time we get it back. Alright. Yeah, this looks good to me. Slow and steady, we're going to build up our mana, get some more mana rocks. With enough mana, we can either sacrifice our Mind Stone for card draw over and over again, or increase our Midnight Clock to get a new hand. All of these are going to be good options for us. Getting Sai out on the battlefield is also going to be great. Sure. Return to the hand. That's fine by me. We're going to go ahead and try and cast it again next turn. Yep. Looks good. We draw another land. That's great for us. Let's go ahead and tap our tome for that. Auto-pay the rest. See if we get it. We do. Tap this for blue. Bobble our opponent. Let's see what they're going to draw. Okay. Sublime Epiphany. Let's get our Bauble back. Cast the Bauble. It's gonna untap all of our non-land permanents. Alright. Opponent's thinking. I'm not sure what they're gonna have in terms of interaction. I mean, I suppose they could draw a card off the Mysterious Tome. Hold up a blue mana. That's fine. Counter the Bauble. Sure. Let's go ahead and untap everything. Add some more mana. We'll Bauble again. Now that our opponent is tapped down, alright, we've got it. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed watching this video today. As we saw, Emry has phenomenal combo potential, as well as plenty of disruption and counter magic to keep our opponents behind and make sure that we can actually resolve and stick our combo. Once we do get there, it's only a matter of time before we can go ahead and win the game. If you guys have any ideas for a deck that you'd like to see me play next, why don't you go ahead and leave that as a comment down below. And if you enjoyed my content, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all next time.